All right, so today we're going to look at writing a linear equation. So essentially, we're going to have a graph that will show us a line, and we will write the equation for that line. So we're going to combine two different things. We've already looked at finding the slope of a line, or we already know how to do that, but we'll look at that. And then we're going to look at finding the y-intercept, because really that's all we need. If we know m and we know b, then here's what we're going to use. We're going to use the equation of a line, which we'll write that down one more time. Y equals mx plus b. All right, so essentially what we're looking for is this. We're looking for the slope, which we will plug in for m. We're looking for the y-intercept, which we'll plug in for this b. And then x and y are just going to stay the same. All right, so you know when you go into the problem, you're at least going to have, for your equation, y equals, then you're going to have some x, you're going to have a number in front of x, and then you're going to have a plus or maybe a minus b. All right, so let's start with the slope. Now, when we're finding the slope, we just need to find the slope between two different points. What I like to do is just go to the left side of the graph, and I like to find this point that's to the far left, which would be this point here. Then I like to go, okay, what's the next point to the right of that? And it would be this point. So all we need is 2 points, because remember, slope is constant. So slope will remain constant through this entire line. So we only need to know these 2 points. Now, to find m, remember that's rise over run. So when we're looking for the slope, the first thing you do, once again, is always count up or down, because if you go up, that will tell you positive, okay? So up means positive. If you go down, that means negative. All right, now remember, we're always going to go to the right. That's why I always start to the far left, then I go up or down and always go to the right. That way it's not confusing. Remember, up is positive, down is negative. So when we're looking at this point, if we want to go up or down to get to our next point that we circled, which was right here, then all we have to do is decide, okay, up or down, which that one's an obvious one. We would just go up. All right, so we would go up one time, which means a positive 1 is going to be on the top of our slope. All right, then we count to the right always. And right, we don't have to worry about positive or negative. We just worry about going to the right. All right, we determine the positive or negative with this up or down. So now we know our slope is positive, so we're going to go over to the right. 1, 2, 3, and that tells us our run. Because remember, the slope is rise over run. All right, which means the vertical change over the horizontal change. So our slope for this graph is positive 1 over 3. All right, so that is m. Okay, now for the b, for the y-intercept, remember this. The y-intercept will always be on this vertical y-axis. That's why it's called the y-intercept. All right, so whatever point crosses or is on that y-axis, that is the y-intercept. So our y-intercept is right here. If you see, that's the only point on this entire line that's also on this y-axis. All right, so that point is B. Now, the actual point would be 0, -2. For B, we just pick out the -2. All right, so -2 is B. Now, when we write that in our equation, we're going to write y equals mx plus b. And instead of x, or instead of m, we're going to write 1 over 3. Instead of b, we're going to have -2. So y equals mx, which would be, or m, which would be 1 over 3, x. Now, instead of plus b, in this case, it's minus b because 2 is negative. So -2. And that would be our equation. All right, let's do another one. So number 2, once again, we're going to start out finding the slope. So, hang on just a second. There we go. All right, so we're going to find the slope first. Now, once again, I always go to the far left, which would be this point right here. Then I ask myself, okay, what's the next point to the right? And it would be this point here. So I'm going to find my slope in between these 2 points. Now, what I'm doing is I'm determining, okay, should I go up or down to get to this purple point here? That's going to tell me if my slope is positive or negative. So remember, always go up or down. Up means positive, down means negative. So if I look at this point to my purple point, so from red to purple, I'm going to have to go down in order to get to this point, which means I know for certain my M is going to be a negative slope. All right, then I just count how far will I have to go down. So I will go down, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so we would be right here. We would be at 5. So that would be -5 going down. All right, so that's -5 on the top of our fraction for our slope. Okay, now we need to also judge how far do we go to the right. Once again, don't ever worry about going to the left. Just go up or down, then go to the right. It's just way easier. So then 1, 2, we would go over 2. So -5 over 2 is our slope. Now, B is going to be our y-intercept. Now, we're going to get rid of all this, and we're going to look. We're going to say, okay, all these points on this line, which of those points is on the y-axis? And once you find the y-axis, that becomes easy because the y-axis is always this vertical axis. And you can see just drawing over the y-axis, I've now crossed over one of my points. So this point right here would be the y-intercept. And that point would be at 0 because the x is always 0 for a y-intercept. X is 0, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 0, 7 is my y-intercept. But for B, I just use 7. I just use the y-coordinate. All right, so now my equation always starts with y equals. Now, mx, so I need m, which would be -5 over 2. That's the slope. X, then we need plus b. So if it's +7, then we use plus. In this case, we would. Just like in number, or I guess the opposite of that would be like number 1. This was -2, so we use -2. So the sign of b dictates if it's plus or minus. So this would be +7, and there we are. All right. I can't really see any that could create more confusion, but for the sake of doing another one, let's find a few more to do maybe on the back. Let's do this. Let's go to number 6. All right, so number 6, once again, here's what we're doing first of all. M is what we're looking for first, so the slope. So now I'm going to always start on the left. So start on the left. That's my point to the far left. Now let's go to the next point to the right, which would be this point here. Now, if I want to go from this purple point to the red point, the first thing I'm going to judge is, do I need to go up or down? Because once again, if we go back up here, up is positive, down is negative. All right, so do I need to go up or down? We would go down. We would go down 1, 2. So that means -2 for M for the top part, for the numerator. Let's see about to the right. Because remember, we always want to go to the right. It just makes your life easier, trust me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to go down 2, over to the right 7. So -2 over 7 is our slope. B is going to be our y-intercept. So wherever this graph crosses the y-axis, that will be the y-intercept. So we want to find the y-axis. It's right here. This is the y-axis. All right, is there a point on that line? Yes, there is. It's right here. That would be at 0, 3. No, 0, 2. All right, so that means that B is +2. So then our equation always starts with y equals mx, instead of m, we plug in negative 2 over 7, x. Now, this is positive 2, so that means plus 2. All right. Let's keep doing a few of these. And at any point, here's what I would do. Like when we get to number, well, for instance, when we do the next number, let's do number 8. When we do number 8, do this. Pause the video, try number 8 by yourself, and then unpause the video and see if you get the answer right. That's the best way to do these when you're watching a video. So let's look at number 8. Now, once again, the slope can be found anywhere, but I personally like to find m first, and I like to start out on the far left. Now, you'll notice that in the past problems, it was telling us m and b. I would continue to do that. I would continue to do this part on my own. I know that the notes stop giving you that, but that's just to try to help you advance through this. But I would keep doing that. So here's what I'll do. I'll show you exactly how I would do it. And if I were you, I would just follow that. So the first thing I'm going to do is find m equals, okay? So I always start on the far left, this point down here. I'm going to go to the right, find my next point. It's here. Now, if you notice, to get from purple to red, I would have to go up, so that means positive. I would go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to go up 5. I'm going to go over to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my slope would be 5 over 6. So that's m. And then I would write b. So once again, just because we don't have it on the notes anymore, I would continue writing m and b. It just makes your life easier. All right. Now, b is the y-intercept. So we want to see what point crosses or is on this y-axis. And it would be this point right here. That point would be at 0, 1, 2, 3, negative 3. So m is 5 over 6, b is negative 3, which means our equation is y equals mx, but instead of m, we plug in 5 over 6, x. Now, instead of plus b, this is a negative number here, here. So we're going to make this minus 3. All right. Let me check. 1, 3, 4, 1, 2. All right, let's do 7. All right, so once again, pause the video, see if you can do 7, and then we'll do it together. All right, so let's look at 7. Because 7, there's going to be something interesting happen here where we need to simplify a little bit. So let's find m first. So once again, start on the far left. Purple point, go to the right. I'll make it red. Okay, now to go from purple to red, we go down, which means negative. All right, we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to go over 1, 2. Now, if you notice, that can be simplified. Negative 4 over 2 divides to give me negative 2. So that's what I use for b. Don't use the unsimplified version. You have to simplify all your fractions. All right? Now, b is going to be equal to, let's see, our y-intercept is the point at which our line crosses the y-axis. So here's the y-axis. Once again, it's vertical. This point right here is on that y-axis, so that is the y-intercept. So that would be at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 0, 4. So 4 is b. Now, once again, m is negative 2. It is not negative 4 over 2. They're the same thing, but we have to use the simplified version. All right, so then y equals mx, except now we're going to have negative 2, x, 4 is positive, so it would be plus 4. All right. Let's see. So remember to simplify all of your fractions. It's the only other thing I can see. Now, when we're choosing the equation for 11 and 12, this one is a little bit tricky to do, but I'll give you how to do it, or at least try to show you how to do it. Because if you look at 11, none of these points are given to us on the graph. So here's what I would do. I always start at the y y-intercept because you know wherever this crosses the y-axis is probably going to be a point for us right now. So right here. Or, like, let's go over to the right. Anywhere that you see the graph perfectly cross two squares, that is where a point is, all right? So actually there's a point on any of these, on any of this, but a whole number for the x and the y. Like if I go here, that's going to be at 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 4. So I can actually make a point at that number. So you're looking at where your graph perfectly cuts through two of these squares, which you can see here, it perfectly goes through those two squares, all right? Or you're trying to find where you can make some kind of angle there. There's several different ways you could do it, but the way I do it is this. I look for the y-intercept. It's right here. So I know that's one point. And then I follow to the right down the line, and I look for where is my graph going to make a perfect intersection between two of these squares, and it's right here. All right, so now to get to one point from another, we would have to go down if we go to the right. So down 1, -1, and this is the slope. Then we would go over 1, 2. So -1 over 2 is our slope. So let's look over here. That means immediately A can't be the answer, Y can't be the answer, or B can't be the answer, C can't be the answer. It has to be D because the slope is -1 over 2 in D. Also, we can just double check the y-intercept, which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that works. All right, so we'll do another one on number 12. Here's where the line crosses the y-intercept. Perfectly cuts through right here. M equals, let's see, we would go up 1 over 1, so M equals 1. So it's not going to be C or D. Has to be A or B. Now, this is -1 for the y-intercept. So B is -1. So that is our answer B. All right, so that's going to be it for this video. These are the notes. I'll see you when I am back in class.